track. It's just, it's too
Right.
bad.
Yeah, why keep track? You know, it's just people who have died. No big deal. Oh, look, we're live. So, hi, everybody. This is Jeanne Casteen, your Democratic candidate for Maricopa County School Superintendent. And today I am joined by one of my absolute favorite people on the whole entire planet. Oops, hold on.
You know, it's just
Whoopsie.
people who have
I
died.
gotta, nope, there we go. So I am live today with my good friend,
your Democrat.
sorry, Mariana Sandoval, who I met, oh boy, this would have had to have been at least, I would say, a year, maybe two ago, because both of us are school board members. Mariana, most recently, she's ending her term with the Agua Fria High School District. So I know that we met probably at an ASBA conference, and I know that, did you ever go to
I think it was no, not Leo or NSBA.
It was NSBA. Yep, that's exactly it. You're totally right.
You were gonna go to karaoke.
Yes, yes. Not that any of us school board members ever sing private room karaoke in any of the cities that we go to, and none of us sing any kind of songs that maybe have swear words in them. So anyway, I'm super happy that Mariana is here today. And the thing that makes her even more awesome than she already was is that she answered the call to now not only run for school board, which is the heart of our democracy, but now in LD13, which is far on the west side of Maricopa County, she is running for the House in Legislative District 13. So welcome, Mariana Sandoval. How are you?
Thank you. I am well. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to see and hear another voice besides my own family members.
I know.
As Jeanne said, my name is Mariana Sandoval, and I am running as the only Democratic candidate for the House of Representatives in Legislative District 13. And thank you for saying the far west, because it is the far west. So District 13 runs from Wickenburg, including Buckeye, Litchfield Park, Goodyear, all the way to Yuma. Yeah, don't ask me how that happened, but yeah, that's LD13, and there's other little towns along the way. It's a very weirdly drawn district and very diverse, but this has been my home for the last 13 years. And so I don't know if you want me to talk about why I decided to run now or wait.
Well, no, let's wait just a minute, okay? First of all, because LD13 is absolutely one of my favorite LDs. And I think that happens because when you do tend to live on the outskirts of the county and you just get so tired of not having choices, you know, especially as a registered Democrat, to be able to choose somebody in the primaries, the activism that exists in LD13 is really palpable. You guys have such a good group, and you have so many people who are like just really devoted to creating the kind of change that they want to see. So I wanted to take just a moment and give a shout out to LD13, because those far west side people, man, they are really doing it. They're getting it right, and they're going to help you get elected. So give us just a little bit of a background about who you are, where you come from.
So I am originally, I grew up in the Los Angeles area, the San Fernando Valley in California, and we moved our family here from Sylmar, California, about 13 years ago. And we have lived here in the same house and the same community for the last 13 years. And so my entire time living in the far west has been under the Republican leadership. And all, like, from my city council all the way to my state legislators and my congressional representatives. And I haven't seen a change. I haven't seen our voices being heard. I haven't seen any of that. And so it's been frustrating, and it's been challenging. And so, but anyway, that's where I'm from. I live here with my husband and my two kids. One of my kids already moved out and is in Washington State. But yeah, I have lived here the last 13 years, and it's a wonderful community. And yes, you're right, LD13 is an energized group. We have a team of awesome volunteers and awesome PCs that that have stepped up. And in this, I am here today running as a candidate, not for what I did, but for what we did as a community, right? We are here because of our team, because the people in LD13 helped me get here. And so shout out to them too.
Yeah, one of the last events that I got to go to, I think it was probably in January. And you guys, well, aside from your kickoff, because I went to your kickoff way on the west side too. And that talks about how determined I am to support your campaign, because that was when the I-10 was still closed down and I had to take all these detours and it was raining like crazy, but I was like, I got to show up for Mariana's fundraiser. And it was quite a fundraiser it was. I mean, you had some big names there. You had January Contreras, who ran for state attorney. She's a big supporter of your campaign. I know Will Knight, who's running for county attorney. He was watching. I don't know if he's still on here watching, but in case he is, hi, Will. How's it going? Nice to see you.
Hi, Will.
And you got, like, you really have some giants who have stepped up and supported your campaign. Terry Gunn is a fantastic chair of that group. And we got to go to some like barbecue place where I'm sure all the people who were there were not there for the Democratic Party's little happy hour get together, but we packed a whole entire room. It was great. The energy out there is really next level. So what made you decide to run first for school board? And like I said, you're coming up to the last year of a 4-year term.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you decide to do that? And tell us, why you decided not only to run for the legislature, but you just told me that you're also now running for a different school board seat in an elementary school district.
Right. So, when I moved here, we did some research on like schools and, based on what we looked at the time, Litchfield Elementary was supposed to be like this premier, really good school district. We ended up renting a house outside of that district, so my kids didn't end up going there. And then as time progressed, we just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse in education. And we're always last, right? Or close to last, 48, 49. I don't understand how we can be lagging behind the South, Mississippi and Louisiana. And I mean, I don't understand that. And so at that point, I decided, you know what, I'm going to stop complaining about how bad our education system is. So I went on the website and I saw that there was 3 seats up, signed myself up, did the thing, ran, and I ran unopposed. So I got on the school board. And so that's how that started. And then once on the school board, then you start to see how there are things above like our pay level, like funding, right? We have no control over that. We get what we get and we work within the restrictions of that funding. And so I'm like, okay, so how can we make a bigger impact and a bigger change and really better our education system and fix those things among a bunch of other issues that are going on in our community, right? And in our state, healthcare and, public benefits and housing and homelessness and the inequities, right? Being on the school board, I learned that we as parents and community members pay for public school like 3 times, right? Like, we're paying property taxes, we're paying override taxes, we're paying fees, right? We generated $300,000 in student fees. So we continue to pay over and over and over for the same education. And so I felt like it just wasn't fair. The parents are never gonna say no. They're always gonna support schools and education because we all want that. But our state really needs to step up and fund us. And so that was the initial motivation for running. In education, it was one of my priorities. And, along with, like I said, a bunch of other issues that we have that, everyone is aware of under this leadership. And so I wanted to give our community a voice. I wanted them to have a chance to have a working person represent them, not just business owners, not just Republicans, not just, people that really don't know our issues and don't care about our issues, because nothing's changed in the last 13 years. It's like time froze over here. And so that's why I decided to run, and just to give our community a voice out here in the far West. And it's been an interesting, with COVID and everything, it's been an interesting race. And then I decided that at the end of this term, I am not going to run for re-election for the high school district, because they're really not, the people that are there now really have a different vision and direction. I want to focus on closing the achievement gap, and really focus on the future of our state, which is, by 2030, Latinos are going to be the majority. And I don't say that to say, oh, we're going to take over, I prefer, to serve, one race over the other. I say that to say this: if Latinos are going to be the majority by 2030, then we need to focus on closing the achievement gap between whites and Latinos, because if Latinos fail, we as a country will fail. And so I feel like Avondale Elementary School District has really been focused, or that superintendent has been focused on closing the achievement gap. And she really cares. And so or that school board member, the direction of that school board is moving more towards that direction. And I feel like putting my time, energy, and effort into in a district that really wants to work on that is better use than, somewhere else where they want to keep things status quo and, from how they did things 30 years ago. And so that's why I decided to run for the elementary school district.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. And I mean, I love what you just said too about like the status quo, and we get used to doing things the same way over and over and over and expecting different results within these really broken systems that we have, and this really broken funding structure that we've created here in Arizona, where essentially a good chunk of our students and our communities are basically kind of just cut out. They're not even really given a first or a second thought. And you were the person who brought it up. I think it was actually at the LD13 meeting where I heard for the first time about those fees, and how you have an entire group of people who have to, everybody has to pay the fee for sports or for clubs or for whatever their extracurricular activity is. But it speaks volumes, right? Like I'm privileged enough to be here in Central Phoenix, where we have Phoenix Union High School District. And, that superintendent, Dr. Jeanne Casteen, has done every single thing that he could possibly do to remove the obstacles for those students. I mean, in Phoenix Union, they pay for everybody's opportunity to be able to take their SAT or ACT. They help every kid, whether that kid thinks that they're college bound or not, to be able to fill out their FAFSA, just so they have that experience, because even if you don't go directly the year after high school, it's still important to know how to navigate those systems. And as educators, we have to do all that we can to remove those obstacles that are in the way for our students, that keep them from connecting with the opportunities that are available to other kids. So I appreciate the fact that you have been kind of, screaming your head off about those fees and hoping that, school districts will start to get it. And I know it hasn't really gone down the way that you want it to, but it doesn't mean that we should all stop trying. And I'm grateful for you and other school board members who have done that to try to remove all those obstacles for our kids and folks so that they can focus on, student achievement.
Right. I mean, one of the Mary Kay, my fellow board member, had a conversation with a gentleman in the Verado community, and he said to her, had it not been for sports, and at the time, I don't know when he was in school, whether they had fees or not, or, had it not been for sports, he would have never gone to college, because he went on an athletic scholarship, and he would have never had that opportunity. Now he can pay for his kids, but there's many people that can't. And I understand that there's things that, we need to pay for, but, when people talk about like, a free ride or having these things for free, they're not free. Our taxes are paying for them. My taxes are supposed to pay for that, so that parents don't have to pay for education 2-3 times, right? And so that kids, like you say, have the opportunity to focus on the academics, or if they want to go to trade school or whatever they want to do, without worrying about the obstacles of paying for a biology fee, or, a chemistry fee, or, whatever fees that they have to pay for. Teachers, when we had the fees on the agenda at my district, and because we kept telling our superintendent that this was an issue, it creates inequity. That's what it does. It creates inequity. Teachers came and spoke against us slashing the fees, because then they would have no money to continue their programs, their arts, or whatever they were doing. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. There should be money allocated for all this without them having to stress or worry about, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have, choir now, or I'm not going to have art class now, or I'm not going to have enough money for X, Y, and Z. The money is there. It just needs to be allocated. We're paying enough taxes. We're paying enough of everything where it should be available, and parents shouldn't have to pay for public education 3 times.
Yeah. And, my parents were both softball coaches who built a program in the small town in the Midwest where we all came from. And, we had a garage full of equipment and supplies. I knew, and then my parents would also then, if there was a girl, if that was an obstacle for them to not be able to play on a team, you better believe that they would have done. And and it drove me crazy as a kid, because we had to recycle cans and do all this stuff to fundraise. Sometimes I would even go with my parents and pick through garbage cans and get aluminum cans just so we could fundraise.
Your public service started long before this.
Awesome. Yeah, back then it wasn't a choice. It was my parents saying, do this, grounded. Yeah.
But look how well you turned out.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes that works. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we have to talk a little bit, because you are an LD13, and we really do need to talk a little bit about Jeanne Osborne, who is a representative in LD13, who it was just released today, came up positive with COVID, and apparently was someone who said, no, masks are not important. We don't need to worry about COVID. We need to keep the economy going. But now she has tested positive. We don't need to get into the details of her sickness, but she's still saying to people that wearing masks is a choice, which I think on her part is an interesting choice. But I want to talk to you more about, like, how were you as a school board member able to, make sure that you were providing for the kids? What kind of decisions did you guys make during the last quarter of this last school year, and then going forward to the next school year? What are some things you've discussed?
Well, it was a really difficult decision. First off, in March, when we decided to close our schools before the governor gave the order to close the schools, we basically, I personally, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I looked at numbers. I looked at the expert data. I looked at, what was Dr. Fauci saying? What is the CDC saying? What are the facts? What are the medical experts? What are they saying? I think this is another side subject, but I think the reason why, Ms. Osborne and many people in this country, in the United States, do not listen to or look at facts of experts is because they don't value education. They don't value the experts. Because if they did, as they do in Asia, they're doing much better, because they value the experts. They value education. So they value those titles of those experts that know their area of expertise. They respect and value them, right? And they listen, right? That's why. And also they have common courtesy, right? In Japan, people would wear a mask if they had a cold, out of respect for other people, so that they wouldn't get them sick, right? And that's common courtesy for other people. That's another issue. But if we valued education and the experts, we would listen and we would be better off. But we don't. And so that's why we're almost last in education. And that's why we have people dying literally every day of this disease and spreading because they don't value the expert advice. And so I did, and I advocated for closing because of it. Because if schools can't contain lice, how can we contain a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic? We just can't. We can't. We're creating death traps. And so we closed before the governor ordered schools to be closed. And we decided to go full on online before the governor decided to push the start date and telling people to go live. Again, following the expert data, following the numbers, seeing how things have gotten so much worse since we started. I mean, had we stayed on the trajectory where we started in March, we wouldn't be in this situation. But because, again, our leaders don't respect and believe in the facts of the experts, we are where we are now. And it's very unfortunate because it's at the cost of lives. And so that's how I'm just speaking for me, because I don't know how the other members derive. Maybe Mary Kay agrees with me, because I did hear her talk about that. But that's what I relied on for the decisions that we made. And it was hard. It was hard to have to cancel graduation. But had we not done it, the governor would have done it, right? Because we had our meeting, and then the governor decided to, again, put those strict orders after the fact, because things were getting really bad. Our numbers were just quadrupling every day. And so, yeah, expert data, because I value education, and I think that we need to respect the people that have spent years studying this and working on this. And, Dr. Fauci has been an expert for, 4 administrations. So, I completely value and trust his opinion and his expert opinion on this pandemic.
Yeah, that to me has been kind of mind-boggling. Although, you said something that I wrote it down actually, because the way that this has been handled is indicative of a society's values, right? And what this pandemic has showed us, unfortunately, is that there are many people in this country who do not value education, and they do not value empathy. And that to me is almost more scary than not valuing education, because if I stop caring about my neighbors, my friends, my colleagues, then I don't have a lot of hope for myself as a human being. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing from a lot of our leaders is this complete and utter lack of empathy. And today, I don't know if you were able to watch any, I think you said you weren't, but the Trump and his wife, and Pence and his wife, and
I try not to.
Right, it's bad for my my heart rate, so I probably shouldn't. But what I heard them saying was all of the trauma that our kids face, and for an administration to talk about how much they care about the most vulnerable members of our society right now just feels a little phony to me. And I had a really hard time watching it, because all I could think of was, where was this sense of compassion and empathy for our students that are living in trauma every day?
Where is this sense of compassion for kids that are in cages today, right now, in this moment?
Yep.
Yeah. We have kids in cages. If you really cared about kids and lives, you would let them out of those cages. If you really cared about kids, you would stop going after dreamers. Why would you want to do that? We've invested in those kids. We've educated them. They have grown up here. Let them give the gifts that they have gained back to our country. Why would we give that away to someone else?
Yeah.
They don't care. He doesn't care. That is not true, because kids wouldn't be in cages, and he wouldn't be going after dreamers. And, he wouldn't be putting families at risk of dying, keeping them in these cages, and same, we can go on about this, but I will stop.
It's okay. And that's the thing. We can recognize that this is all kind of lip service, and we all know the truth because we're the ones that have to deal with these budgets in education, and we're the ones that have to, as school board members, put things on the chopping block every single year because they will not fully fund education. You know, this is why we live in a state where the average counselor to student ratio is 1 for over 900 students, because if we really cared about those kids, we wouldn't have just started caring 6 months ago. We would have started caring 6 years ago, 60 years ago,
Right.
to make sure that all of these things are accessible for our students. We wouldn't demonize education or empathy, and we would just fully fund things to make sure that the basic needs of all of our citizens, the common good, is taken care of. So I personally cannot wait until you are part of the legislature so that you can get in there and advocate for full funding for our schools, advocate for doing away with these waivers. And I have to tell you, so Mary Kay is actually on right now. She said, first she said, and this was a few minutes ago, mentioned that waivers for those families are required by law. So those,
but nobody tells the parents that. You know, Mary Kay was actually one of the people behind pushing for them to get a form and pushing for them to include that form in the registration packets. And she and I would go to parking lots during football games to distribute those forms to parents so that they would know that these waivers were available if they needed them, because parents didn't know that.
Wow. That just kind of blows my mind away that there are 2 school board members hanging around on a Friday night at a football game to make sure. And I'm surprised, actually, I'm a little surprised that the district wouldn't want to just go ahead and do that themselves to let them know. Mary Kay,
that's less funding for them. So they don't want people to know. They don't want the parents to know. They also refuse to make copies for Mary Kay of those waivers. So Mary Kay went to one of our elected officials in the district and said, would you donate some paper and toner so that we can, you know, make copies of these things. She also requested copies of the form for the tax credit. I mean, it's, you know, for the schools, simple things that, you know, if they want funding, just tell the parents you can redirect your taxes, right? They wouldn't make copies of that for her. So she went and asked our local representative if they would donate some paper and toner. And they did. And so then from there on, she never got denied any copies again.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm so glad. And
generate money for the district. I mean, come on, you know?
Yeah. Well, and this just, you know, this emphasizes once again the importance of our school boards. We have 58 school boards in Maricopa County, and that includes the community college district. We need to make sure that we get good people onto these boards. Mary Kay also says, excellent point about why would we give away the gifts that we have given to our dreamers. Amen, Mary Kay. It's always kind of boggled my mind. And now this administration is also telling the students who are here, college students, that if their classes are not 100% online, that they can just go ahead and leave the country. And again, that just really boggles my mind. You cannot talk about how you care about kids and how you care about keeping people safe, but then you are willing to throw all that out the window to be able to toe some weird party line doctrine that you believe in. That is really, it completely lacks empathy. Makes me sad. But that's okay, because we're going to get Mariana Sandoval elected in LD13. So I can see it behind you. I also put it on the Facebook Live today that it is Sandoval for az.com. Yes. Now, what kind of things are you? I know that you're a clean elections candidate.
Right.
So you've already got your 5s turned in, but
right.
You can still take seed money. Is that correct?
No, I am. So you're only allowed to do that at the beginning before you submit your 5s and get your funding. So I am done with that, and I've been funded for the primary, so I'm good on money. Well, I'm not good, but that's all I have to work with. And what we do need is volunteers. So go to our website, join our volunteer list. And also, if you need a yard sign, you can go request one there. I have some masks. Oh, which I forgot to bring to show off. But so if you guys want one, go on there. And yeah, we can always use your help, volunteers for phone banking, for if you want to deliver signs in your neighborhood, yard signs, we can always use your help that way. You're welcome to join Team Sandoval. And we also need to elect you, Jeannie, to be the next superintendent.
Oh, that's right. And by the way, I am still taking money and I'm a traditional candidate because we can't run clean in countywide elections. So please, jc4mc.com. We haven't had a Democrat in this office since 1968. Currently I am seeing a few things that I feel like I could add to this position. I'm really looking forward to all the different opportunities.
Yes,
so I know
we're
oh, thank you. I know we're cutting it a little bit close and I've gone over, but it's because I haven't seen you for so long and I could talk to you all day. But let's end with something fun. So a fun fact about you, Mariana, what is something that maybe people who are watching right now would never know about you unless they, were like a friend or family member? What's a surprising fact?
So I was a point guard in high school for a basketball team.
I was a point guard too.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh, we're gonna, you know what? Okay, everybody who's still watching, there's a whole 6 people who are still watching. I think that Mariana and I might have to have like a game of horse or something like that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
There we go. That's our fundraiser. We just figured it out. If we could ever meet in public again, that you heard it here first, folks, we are going to have a horse or maybe an around the world championship between Mariana Sandoval and myself.
I'm gonna start practicing right now. Getting ready for 2021.
That's it. That is what we will do. We'll bring the press. It'll be amazing. That's so cool. What was the name of your high school basketball team?
It was San Fernando High School. It's coincidentally the high school where Richie Valens attended.
That is very, look at you. See, she's destined for greatness, everybody. So first of all, thank you so much, Mariana, for being part of this today. I appreciate you. I miss seeing you. And I can't wait to wipe the floor with you in a little basketball tournament.
Oh, is that right, Miss Jeannie? Look at you. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Jeannie, for having me. I look forward to you becoming our next Maricopa County Superintendent. Please donate to Jeannie. We need her. I can't take your money, but you can give whatever money you wanted to give me to her.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, that was good.
All 2 people that are still watching.
Right, totally. Well, thank you, Mariana. I appreciate you. And until the next time, have a great week.
Hasta luego.
Hasta.